extra.
No, sorry. So when the film is viewed online, it will play automatically in like a queue, but I think obviously, like just now, like there's some time to like edit or at least like trim the first and end of it. I should hope, but it's not going to be like edited, like cut to you, cut out this or anything.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's real. It's real.
It's real life. Happening
life,
now.
Yes. Okay, sorry. So then
Yeah,
we're ready.
all good. Okay, all right. Hi, everyone. Thank you all for joining us for the Q&A of Wondrous Kiental. My name is Dominique O'Neill. I am a programmer at SF DocFest, and it is my pleasure to welcome the directors of the film, Christina Zurbrugg and Michael Hudicek.
Hello, welcome.
Hello. Nice to be here.
Hi, thank you so much for joining us. This is a really fun and wonderful film. It's a beautiful, like, found footage remix that you've made. So as viewers, though, we know very little about this footage. So I'm wondering if you can tell us about how you acquired it. And let's start there.
Yeah, maybe I start with this because the material is from the village where I'm born in Switzerland. It's called Kiental. And it's actually, my mother told me that my former neighbor, the innkeeper, that they have screenings in the guest rooms and about old material about the village. And then I started to be interested in it. And when we spent our holiday there, we went to my former neighbor and I said, "What's with this film? We would like to see it." And he disappeared. And some moments later, he came back with 2 film rolls and said, "You are born in this village. You can have this film." So we had no idea what was on this film roll. And
then we went home to Austria, to Vienna, where we live, and we transferred the film to video. And this was, by the way, our marriage gift from the company where I worked at this time. They did this for us, and then we saw for the first time this film material, and we were very surprised about this quality, also from the content, but also from the formal things, how he shot this material. And then we said, okay, something has to be done with it. And then Christina started to compose music already for it and started to write lyrics. and so we.
Yeah, so for me also the interesting thing was that I knew all these people from my childhood, and I knew really, I knew their living rooms and the taste of their living rooms and their stories and all this. And the film rolls were without sound, so there was no sound. So it was like a silent movie, and that's why I started to compose music and I started to write the story. So what can I tell about these people? And
also about their future, what they don't know at this time.
Yes.
Right. Because you have that, you're seeing it in the future. So let's talk about the narration and how you did that, because it's very poetic, and at the same time it can be very dark and it can be very absurd. So can you talk a little bit about how you how you created that narrative of these people that you knew?
So, okay, about my family, of course, it was very easy because I know the family pretty well, or also not that well. I can't really tell you. It wasn't like a plan. I simply started somewhere and it always went from one thing to the next and another idea, and like this it developed.
But what I can add is that Christina is working somehow since longer time on the on the forefarm, on your family and the background of the village, the ancestors. So she did also some little novels about this and made interviews with her aunts, and so she knows a lot about the background of this village.
Yeah.
And how the people are what's the behavior of these people, because these are somehow special people in the mountain village, you know, a small mountain village. This is not like San Francisco, Vienna. Right. This is completely different.
So was this work that you were doing before you got the film reels, or this is something that, like, this background work of your family in the village? When were you doing that?
I started, I think, when I was 20. When I was 20, I started interviewing people in the village to tell me their stories and how it was for them. When, I mean, there are these historical events with Lenin. This is really the real story, that Lenin stayed there and had this secret conference. And with my grandfather, how this was when Dürrenmatt was there, what they can remember. So I have pages and pages of material.
Yeah. Wow. So you said that you composed the music. Can you talk a little bit? It sounds like you have a background as a musician. Can you talk a little bit about how you scored the film?
Yes, with pleasure. So in let's say it's like my first profession is I'm a musician and singer, and especially a yodeler, but in a modern context. So I make yodel music combined with jazz music or world music and
rap and good.
Different. So contemporary music. So, and I grew up also with this Alpine music. And of course, as a little child, I didn't like this at all. This was for me much too conventional and old fashioned and something I never wanted to do in my life. And
I mean, it's so great in the context of this film too, because it's like, it just adds such another dimension to the film. It's like cultural relevancy, but it's also, you know, like this modern twist on.
Yeah, this was very important for me, because if you take now traditional music, then everything is too beautiful and too it's too much harmony. Because one thing is, in this Alpine life, it was a hard life. So people didn't have a lot of luxury. So they
had no luxury.
They had no luxury. When I grew up, we had cold water in the house. And this was already luxury because other people didn't have water in the house. So this was then, but suddenly it developed very fast. And this in the 70s, it started really to change a lot. The whole world changed. Yeah.
And this footage was taken in the 50s, is that right?
50s, late 50s. Late 50s. Yeah.
How did you choose how to edit the film? Because it seems like at one point it goes from like 57 back to 55 or something like that.
Yeah, this is not really the main thread. I think it's more we try to find some story which starts in the village, for sure, that you can see the starting point of the film, and then we go up to the mountains with the animals, you know, and then we explore what's going on there, and the tourists who also go to the mountains, and the people who work there. And then later on, it's more over the year. We start in springtime and end in wintertime. This is more the story. Then, because then in autumn we go back to the village, and there's then this cheese dividing and these things back to the village, and then there comes a funeral, and so this is more than this sort of feeling of autumn, winter again. So this was more the development.
Yeah.
We may have to add that the cameraman, this Mr. Landwin, he
Mhm.
started already to form and to create the film. But
Wow.
of course, it was all very long and minutes of chaos.
Yeah.
But
So
he
when
did
you,
also the scenes
sorry.
with the children, this very nice scene with the
The
children.
chapter titles. This he also already did it with the children, so this is also from him.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Okay. So when you got the footage, it was like sort of a little bit edited.
Yes, it
Yes,
was
he had
like
already worked on it.
very rough cut, let's say.
Yeah.
But it was
Yeah.
in another order because he had another system which we didn't really understand, but this doesn't matter.
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
his
yeah.
sort of order, and we tried then to find a new order.
Mhm. How long was it when you got it? Like how the in minutes
It's about
or
100 minutes or 120, 110
Wow.
minutes, 110 minutes. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
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 And then
But it's shot in 18 frames per second,
okay.
not in 25 or
Yeah.
24. So it's
Yeah.
18. So we had to slow it down. All that it has this. Most of the material we slowed it down that it feels like a normal pacing,
Mhm.
normal velocity.
Yeah. Wow. And this the photographer, the cinematographer, did you know him at all, or like, because in the movie it's just the mysterious.
Yeah, it's
the
absolutely
mysterious man.
mysterious. I asked everybody in the village, did you know him? What do you know about him? And all we got to know is that he left to Spain and he died in Spain. And he took the material with him. And his wife came back after his death, and she wanted to throw everything away. And so she went to my neighbor, and that's why he got the material. And she said, you can come now to Bern and look if you want to have these things, otherwise I throw all this away. And he went there and he took the projector and this film rolls and showed it in the village.
Wow. So when you in the film you show like the present day viewing of the film, I'm assuming that you've already made. So you've like interspliced this like modern day piece, but you've already like is the narration there when you're showing it to them, or was it just the raw footage of them?
No, they saw the film as it was directly from the 60mm projection without sound, as it was always when they showed it twice a year. It was an event like this, and we filmed with it, and then we filmed the reactions of the people when they see themselves and so on. So
can you talk more about adding that into your film? Like it's just it's so meta. It's like so shocking to see it, but it's such a sweet moment of being like, oh look, like, and you can see what they look like now. Can you talk more about that?
Maybe one point was, of course, it was a pretty complicated thing to organize it, that all these people could come on this one weekend when we were there and stayed there and but it worked.
They came all because they were also interested. So there's also lots of love to this material because they are their parents in it, and they are themselves as little child. So they love to see this, and so they came. We also did interviews with these people who came to the film screening. But then we decided not to use it because it somehow then it's this sort of and this was like this, and it takes something, the poetry of this material. If you hear the people talking about,
it takes the magic.
It takes a little bit the magic. So then we decided not to use it.
Can you talk more about so you mentioned this author that worked with your grandfather, the what's his name, Frederick Dürrenmatt.
Actually he didn't work, they drank together.
Better, that's better than working.
No, it was like this, that the bakery and the shop, this was in the middle of the village and with all the windows to the street, and everyone who passed always looked, how are you doing? And yes, and they came in and then they talked and they had a drink, and so it was very
an open house.
Yeah, an open house, a
yeah.
very communicative house.
Mhm.
And so I didn't know him because this was in the 50s. I was born in the 60s then.
Mhm.
But yeah, this is.
And Friedrich Dürrenmatt is for sure one of the famous authors in Europe. So it's also a big gift for this film material to have this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is one of his most famous theater plays, the Visit.
The Visit.
Yes.
Yeah. So he used this. You have to tell it. He.
Yes, he in the theater play in the Visit. The village is called Gullen, and what's this in English?
Shit, more or less animal shit.
It's more or less animal shit, Gullen. So and he took the village of Kiental as an inspiration for this village. So the people in the village, they don't like him. So this was no, because
he made a joke out of them, more or less.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
So,
yeah.
Yeah. But maybe another interesting point is that his father was a priest. Yes, but not a Catholic priest. Yeah. And
they had a holiday house. Yeah.
They had a holiday house, so he really stayed very often in this village. So
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And what do you think? The villagers have seen the raw material of what became your film. What do you have reactions from them after, like, you've edited it and like have they seen the finished product? Are you going to be thought of in the same way, or?
We an earlier version we showed them. So this was a longer process. This was already some years ago. We showed them an earlier version, and they liked it very much. Yes, for sure. Yeah. So yeah, we also like to do. Also, we also sometimes we want to use this film also to make live music together, so that we play the film and play the music live.
Wow.
Together with the band, or just two of us, but also together with the band. So this is also very special to have it as a live film music event.
Yeah, that'd be very fun. Yeah, there's so much like cultural significance too to the film, where you're seeing this like slice of life from this time that doesn't exist anymore, and then everything about it is like in the narration is so Swiss and so I had to stop it and Google like what certain things were, because I didn't know, and they're all like the potato bread thing, like a sort of like a latke. You know what I'm talking about?
This is not in the film, huh?
Well, I think you mentioned like a specific type of like wine, and then like a specific. It's just I guess what I'm just getting at is it's very specific to the region, like like how you were able to incorporate just in your regular narrative, and then we drunk this wine that we only have here, and or whatever. So I'm just. I'm losing you.
Yeah, the fondant. Yeah, this is a special Swiss wine, and Batsy is it's a special schnapps. Yes, and
yeah, the schnapps.
Schnapps.
Yes, the schnapps. Yeah.
So for sure they have very special sort of meals there. Yeah.
Yeah.
There are lots of cheese for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, with those cows, I mean.
Yeah, with those cows.
Yeah. So I guess what I'm getting at is, you have a bunch of San Franciscans and Americans watching this film, and we aren't always familiar with, the customs and cultural traditions of other countries. So I'm just wondering what you what your goal is with getting this film out there, and like what you hope people take away from it when they see it.
I never thought really about this.
Also what we know from other screenings is, but this is maybe more European, because in the Alp region here, lots of people have some stories from their grandparents or so. They come somehow, also if they live now in cities, but the grandparents, they come from the countryside, and they somehow heard about this sort of stories, or this feeling how it is in this countryside. And because of this, the people are often very touched, because they can connect somehow by heart, with their heart to this material. And this is for us also very, very fine to see that it touches the people. So I think what we hope is that it also touches the people in America, even if some of them maybe don't have this experience, but also in America, I don't know.
Yeah. Many of them, for instance, they spent their holiday as children somewhere in the countryside, so they have this connection to this kind of rural life, and they liked it, and yeah. And
it's also this sort of, if you see how the people worked there in these times by hand, to cut the wheat and all this in the mountains and carrying it and all this is I mean, this is, you seldom see these pictures, and not in color, because normally these are then black and white material also from these times, and this is a very seldom that you find these pictures in color. For me, this is touching if I see how the people, what hard work this was to make their living. And that we don't, so on the other hand, that we more appreciate our luxury, let's say. This could be maybe that we more appreciate our luxury, how we are used to live with all this, I don't know, smartphones and cars and you know, all these things.
Hot water.
And so this is incredible. It has changed in this, let's say, 150 years.
So
no, not
I
150, 70 years, 70 years.
So I remember one statement of I think it was even my aunt who said it, and I found it very touching. She said, we had a very hard and tough life. We had to work a lot, but we always had time. And I find it a really, really interesting aspect. We had time.
This is the only luxury we don't have anymore.
That's true. That's very true. Wow.
So,
well, thank you.
Good change.
Thank you so much for sharing this film with us. It's such, I mean, it's such a wonderful portal into the past, and you having, you know, the experience of being there, just it's you know, it's such an amazing film, and thank you for sharing it with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
We appreciate
for
very much
us. Yes,
that it's running at this festival, and we hope that lots of people can see it and enjoy it.
Can enjoy it
and be touched. And looking forward.
Yes, and all the best for the festival.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. You too.